Welcome everybody to another day of VCS. I am Marbinogi, and with me on the desk, on the cast, is Coach Tim. Tim, welcome to your first cast of this year, I suppose.
Yeah, it's exciting to be back. Had a lot to do in the spring until now, but now I have more time, and hopefully I'm going to be here a few times throughout to be back in the best league in the world, obviously. And to start out, I want Alistair. We said it. I came in here and was like, where's the Alistair? He got buffed twice. It's the Vietnamese cow series. I need him. We need him to be back. And
yeah. I had a little countdown for when we were going to see our first cow. It took us until week 2 to see him. But we saw him pretty quickly. But we haven't seen much of him after that. You're right. Anyway, today, where we will hopefully see Cow, is we will see Cerberus versus SBTC later on in the evening. But first up is Team Wales versus Team Secret. Two teams that have had bit of an up and down, but Team Wales coming off a win. And how do you feel this matchup should go?
I mean, looking at the history throughout the last 2 weeks roundabout, I think it should be Wales' favorite, especially if they win here and Saigon doesn't get the upset over GAM. They're secured 3rd place. Yes, SBTC could tie with them in points, but they have the tiebreaker. They have the win-loss statistic. And overall, Team Wales, they're with 3-3, but their game statistic with 8-6 is actually pretty decent. So they are at a +2 right now, and they have been winning, especially against the lower teams, very convincing 2-0s usually. So I'm expecting something similar here against Team Secret.
Yeah, and I can definitely say when you think of Team Wales, one of the players that comes to mind is, of course, Killer Queen. And in that jungle position for Team Secret, they have been struggling to find their footing. They've tried 3 junglers so far. Sorn, their most recent, is out hurt. He's injured right now. So we're not quite sure where they're gonna land on the jungle position, but we can talk about the solo lanes. I think what was a huge part of their success, Team Secret's success last year, were these solo lanes, and they've not really been living up to that same standard of last split.
Yeah, I mean, especially Hero was pretty hyped. It was this Emperor Hero storyline for a long time, but I think already to the end of the season, you could see that Hero in top lane was falling off, and that he didn't really have the same success even last year, and I think that has really continued into this year. Artifact, I'm more surprised because he was definitely one of the strong parts together with Zhuhao. I think those were the 2 main guys to carry them also into the playoff run in summer. And I'm expecting more from him, and I think he has to step up, especially against Glory, or he's just gonna they're just gonna lose the mid jungle duo, mostly from jungle already. So he has to be that counterpole. He has to win mid lane to build his jungler some space, because we still don't exactly know who's actually going to be playing. We hope it's Penguin, even though he didn't have the best game so far. He definitely brings the experience instead of just throwing in another jungler with little experience. I think that really isn't the way for them.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely think. Yeah, Artifact, he was our big MVP last split for a lot of people, for a lot of the team. And yeah, he just hasn't really been able to put it together. He's been playing a lot of varied champions, I will say. He's played, I think, the most different champions out of any mid laner this year. Yep, I think so. Yeah. He's played the most different champions out of the mid laners this split, but as a result, he's sort of it's 1 loss on Victor, 1 loss Tristana, 1 loss to Leah, 1 loss Silas, 1 loss on everything going up the list, and maybe just try and lock in some consistency on picks on strategies is what Secret really needs to put together.
Yeah, and then I think that it's not going to be easy for them. It's going to be an uphill battle. I think Wales just are looking really good right now, and they do definitely have the strength of players also to just put you in the dirt if you're not up to it in laning. If you're not up to it at every point in the game, they're just going to dominate you, because I think they've been playing fairly well as a team. And I mean, there was also always the talk of how much did B actually call in Gam, right? And that was a really good shot calling support. And I think bringing that into that Team Wales team, who actually haven't changed, I think, too much from the last year.
Just the bot lane.
Just the bot lane, yeah. But the top side was, I feel like, really struggling in that mid game. So we saw Killer Queen dominating early games, and then you came to the 15th minute and Killer Queen was running it down. His solo laners were looking lost on lane assignments, and now going into this split, they actually build those early game leads. Killer Queen finds advantages, and then they can actually pull them through and actually win with them. And I think the large part of that is probably B coming in with experience and also with that winning mentality. Hey guys, I know how to win. I know how to play to win, and I think that is a large part why they're doing so much better.
Yeah, absolutely. They're off to a pretty great start. They've had, last week was a struggle, as we sort of said, we've sort of said to Wales their AD carry position was probably going to be their weakest link, and up against like Artemis and Shogun, the two best AD carries, it sort of showed. But other than that, they almost beat Garm, and it was a very close series. That was pretty much one team fight away from Wales winning. They've beaten every other team handily that they've played so far. So I've got a lot of love and a lot of hype for this team, and it hasn't fully delivered. I probably saw myself that story a little hard, but I think so. I think Wales are absolutely showing up and deserve that sort of third place, that playoff spot that they are looking to sort of solidify it. Though not lock in, of course. We still have half a split left. So just waiting for draft.
I mean, generally for them, which I think they have to start doing in the second half, and what the target has to be, should they win today, I think is that they have to target upwards, right? Okay, because they've beaten all the teams below them. And now, like, they have to start winning in those top 4 matches, right? They have to get wins against Saigon, have to get wins against Cerberus in Gem. Yes, Saigon with a loss against Gem tomorrow would actually not be in that top 4 because SPTC would probably overtake them if they win at some point. Let's see. But for me, Saigon is still that team that I always expect to show up, especially towards the later part of the split. They usually have struggled early on, and they had a solid second half in regular season, and they really put it on in the best of 5. So I expect a lot from them still. And then Team Wales really has to start getting in those top 3 matches, because yes, Saigon has dropped a lot of games, which actually brings them to the 3rd place spot, but they haven't actually won against Saigon, which means they really have to find the way to win against series against Gam, Cerberus, and Saigon. And I think that is the big difference maker. Can they do this? Then maybe they're actually competitive in those playoffs. If they still just cruise through because they beat everybody below them, then I don't really see them winning in playoffs. And then it's kind of what's the point? I think Yenko said it in LEC. What's the point of us getting into playoffs if we're just gonna get stomped at first round? And I think that is also a mentality that they really have to bring. Is like, how do we actually win those games? Because we rather take a flip, try to improve and win against those top teams, or and then maybe we miss playoffs because of that. If we when we could have had playoffs and get stomped in first round, I think that's also something that the coaching staff and then the players have to decide what they want to do.
Yeah, especially with it still being spring, you it's pretty much an all or nothing split. You don't have that second seed to MSI or anything. So try and make the most effort to improve, and then maybe make that gunning spot for top 2 in summer. As we are now finally onto the draft, we see some of the big favorite picks being taken away from both teams. Varus, Annie, Renekton, big favorites for both of these teams. And it is going to be skewed in the jungle position for Team Secret, and as such, they're going to try and make him as comfortable as possible with this first pick, Wukong.
Yeah, and especially Wukong, when Gragas is out, doesn't really have an isolated counter in the jungle, right? Playing Gragas into Wukong fits really good in jungle because obviously he only gets armor through his passive. On the other hand, we see a staple of especially East Asian play, and that's the Lee Sin. It's the mechanical jungler to really show off on, and something that Killer Queen can really show what he's made of. And then we see the Xayah hover. Xayah Rakan right now is a really strong duo, especially on 13.4 where we are. She's still unnerved. On 13.5, of course, there's a nerf coming in on the live patch, but still unnerved Xayah. And she's really good against Wukong because she has her ultimate, she has a good self-peel, and she has a synergy with a lot of good supports in the spot as well. So I like to pick up here, and we'll have to see with Varus out. I expect maybe Caitlyn or Lucian to come in, or that Zeri for Eddie, because it has been his best champion, and at least stat-wise, and I really like seeing him on it.
Yeah, and with the Zeri, you imagine to see the Lulu probably coming in shortly, but unless there's something else Secret wants to highly prioritize, and that will probably be answered by either the Rakan or the Nautilus, which B has seemed to be favoring alongside this. And Ahri locked in now. I think they're trying to bait a counter pick mid, perhaps.
Yes, I mean, also it has been like a staple pick last year for Artifact, one of his best champions, and they actually do see the mid lane hover, so I'm expecting counter pick to come in. Of course, Lissandra and Vex would be the old ones from last year. LeBlanc, though, has a decent matchup, and with the Lee Sin, you always want to have that LeBlanc. It's one of those mid-jungle duos that really just can dominate the map, and it's something that I can see Killer Queen and Glory really dominate the map with. So it's already a big risk taking for Artifact because they have to fight around that mid-jungle duo. It's not going to be easy, but if they win it, they can really dominate the map. And with Zeri, they're probably going to be winning the late game anyway. So it's not bad in draft here.
This should be a first LeBlanc of the split, and now it's on to bans. It looks like it's going to be a heavy top lane focus from both teams. I was expecting a bit more, maybe, of supports taken off the table. But
I mean, for supports, I think that especially as Zeri, you don't really care about the Rakan too much. It's very easy for you to dodge the W and get out. And on the other hand, there are like a decent amount of good supports for the Xayah as well. And with Zeri, it's the same thing. There are a lot of supports you can play with Zeri. Yes, Lulu and Karma and so on are probably the stronger ones, but they end up only banning the Lulu because it is that standout strong support. And they end up doing one ban in top lane. Santa and Sion, two good blind picks on 4, so they're kind of expecting that they want to go with last pick for B here.
Yeah, and with that, there's still, of course, lots of tanks. Cho'Gath has been more available. Jax currently hovered. Without the Gragas sort of being that big classic counter pick, sort of everything else comes down to being that sort of skill matchup, so Nagia willing to take that. Rock?
I mean, there are two possibilities. There's Rock and Cannon. Cannon, of course, getting buffed on the next patch. Not buffed yet, but still in a decent spot. But it ends up being the Rock. And it's great in a 1v1 matchup, right? You want to do that, but Jax is fine-ish in that matchup. And the problem that I have with it, you have 2 hyper-mobile champions, 3 decently mobile champions, because Jax is also really mobile, and then you have Xayah with ultimate. So you're not gonna have that really easy target to ult as hero, and you have to be really smart about what you want to do with that champion. And right now we're gonna hover the Renata, which makes it even harder, because even if you get onto somebody, even if you one-shot that person, you're still gonna have that Renata W if it comes through. And not too excited for now for that Malphite pick, but obviously if he finds those ultimates, always a game changer.
Alright, well, we're waiting to see, and it shall be that Renata lock-in. And it's kind of, Renata's been low-key kind of busted. We see their 80% win rate, but even in other leagues, every time it shows up, it seems to be taking names in LPL and such. So as we see the drafts come together, lots of all in for Secret and a lot more high mobility, bit of skirting around it in and out of team fights for Wales. Nameplates off. Which draft are you sort of leaning towards?
I mean, I think both drafts want to accomplish different things. I think Wales just drafted themselves in a really strong teamfight comp. You have great AoE with Wukong, Malphite, Rakan, great engage. Zeri, obviously, always a teamfight carry champion. And yes, you have the Ahri that wants to be a bit more early game with the Wukong together, but still can deliver in those mid-late game fights. So I think that's the one hand. And on the other hand, you have LeBlanc Lee Sin. And LeBlanc Lee Sin always tells you, we're going to stomp your mid-jungle dude, then we're going to walk bot or top, and then we're stomping your side lane. And I think that is what Wales have to do. If they can execute on that and they have all the tools that they need to execute on that, I think their draft is winning. If they can't execute on that and we see Team Secret getting a little bit of a lead, I think they have a very solid game plan, because there's very little threat to actually kill anybody if LeBlanc is behind, if Lee Sin is behind. And so I think that we're going to see it in the first 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so, who's probably going to take over this game.
All right, well, so 15 minutes is sort of your timer. Of course, they're never truly out with the scaling of Xayah. Xayah is extremely strong, of course. And yeah, a kick can always change something. So, of course, you don't ever want to count out Wales, but as we move now onto the Rift, we are going to see a lot of... Get a quick glance at the runes. Nothing stands out particularly to me. Maybe the Outlaw and Seal spellbook, going for a little bit more utility and ability to impact the map. Maybe cleanse those chains if they do land and stop that snowball coming. But otherwise, all looks pretty standard.
I mean, what surprises me a bit is the Jack's Grasp actually at this point. Because you could go for more scaling runes in either Conqueror or Lethal Tempo. Yes, they are probably less good in lane, and you kind of want that laning power, but especially Lethal Tempo, once you have your first and second item, you just run down anybody on the map. So I'm surprised that he really goes for that laning power, but you can get some advantages in lane, and can punish Hero here.
Yeah, trying to balance out against that Comet, maybe just try and get that extra sustain to deal with that poke, but as we see both junglers on the blue sides of the jungle, but a wolf start coming out from the Wukong. Nagia and Hero are on the wrong sides.
Yeah, I mean, Hero's playing for a second Q here. Still gets traded back on, and Nagia now can run him down, and that's the traits where you would have, where you would like to see Lethal Tempo, obviously. Decided for the Grasp instead, and we saw actually Wolf start here from the Wukong trying to scratch around that vision, but because there was vision on both his red buff and on the blue buff through Nagia, they kind of know that he either started on the Raptors or on the Wolves, and now they actually spot him on the red buff, so they know exactly where he is. Good
handshake, forcing the Flash and the Ghost already out of Eddie being traded for summoners on B, so B's the target. But Eddie taking a really rough end of that trade.
Yeah, Eddie doing Eddie things. It is expected, but with the Zeri, obviously he has a good champion to get back into the game. He just needs a CS and has to go from there. And here we see how this matchup goes early. Nagia, obviously, kind of low on HP, or lost half his HP, but Hero doesn't have mana anymore. And that's really how this matchup kind of goes, where... in those early parts, if you Q too often before you level 4 and 5 as Malphite, you legit do not have enough mana to kill anybody. So maybe he isn't too familiar with the matchup.
Junglers are going to meet, and the artifact is quite low, so Killer Queen can't chase this onto Skewed. But now Glory's stepping forward aggressively. Charm misses, and it's just going to be pressure by the Team Wales duo. This is very aggressive, but it's going to pay off. 1, 2. They get 2 for 1 overall, and I think with the wave crashing into mid lane, that's absolutely worth for Team Wales.
Can I call FF already? I mean, it's not even the fact that this went wrong, right, and you get dove. It's the fact that you could even be dove there. It's not how this matchup should go, and especially Ari using her charm, obviously enabling that. Here the charm misses, and now before that, Killer Queen and Glory both couldn't jump in because of the charm. Now they can suddenly jump in, and we see Killer Queen with the flash. Great play from him. Glory, yes, dies for this, but you said it, the wave, it dies. Killer Queen survives. It's a 2 for 1. I think it's all that you want. And if we look at the farm on both mid lane and top lane, it's kind of disastrous, especially since bigger waves are both coming in. So I'm really not sure where the power for Team Secret so far should come from. And if this Lee Sin LeBlanc snowball further from here, it's not going to be easy to do anything for them.
Yeah, Skewed is not, they read the backs of Team Wales due to a ward in that middle brush. And so now Suhao can link up with this Wukong and try and make something happen. It's not going to be the case, but Yeah, we see a fairly even trading out, but now distortion down. Suhao's going to go in. It's just a bit of harassment as B will join alongside. Sorry, my stream is a little bit laggy on my end. And all in all, we're just sort of seeing rather small leads come out of the lanes, especially top and bottom. And mid lane just has that big advantage from that play. As Nagiro's going to continue to go in. Hero is just getting beaten back over and over again, but they can't really commit to a dive on either side. And once level 6 comes through, perhaps Nikki has to be a little bit more careful, but a ward will spot skewed, and that gets to be traded for a dragon.
Yep, and generally in this top matchup, whoever hits level 6 first has that solo kill potential, while Scoot is trying to get a shove out to his top laner. So he's just trying to help out, not really kill Angle, but Hero needs to push out, needs to reset, and wants to get back. One thing I have to say is, right now, when you play Comet, you usually do not play it to win lane on Malphite even, because you're not really powerful enough to do that. You kind of play Comet to stop your enemy from doing something, so to stop him from winning lane, essentially. And what I don't like then is seeing that Doran's Ring being bought, because what you want to do is actually just get to your item power spikes as soon as possible, so you can be more useful in the team fights, because you spike much earlier, obviously, than Jax does, and especially in team fights, you're so much more valuable if you have some tankiness in this game. So him going for more lane items, I don't really like, because you shouldn't need them. If you want to go for something, go for a tier, for example, to build that later and to have more Qs, but the Doran's Ring I don't really like. And similarly in mid lane also, you're already behind, you want to get to your first item, just buy items that get you there sooner, because you need those item power spikes to get your Zeri into late game, because Zeri is chilling right now. She's basically, even CS, her summoners are back up. Eddie can carry this game if you build him enough space, if you get him enough time, but right now the other lanes are not really playing for that time.
Yeah, we can see the Doran's Rings buys are a bit unusual. We tend to normally see, if they want for that laning power, the Dark Seals, because that can sort of scale into the mid to late game, regardless if you start to stack them. But you're right, we're seeing bot lane is pretty much completely even, with a few roams here and there from the supports. So I'd like to see some of the focus come down here from the junglers. Maybe not anytime soon, perhaps, given the spawning of the Herald in just under half a minute. And support's not on the move up there, though, may result in a very, very quiet early game. No real contest at that dragon. Oh,
yeah, I think for Team Wales, it's all about the Drakes now. You just want to stack Drakes. You had a really early first Drake, basically unspawned, where we see a little bit of a bot fight.
Oh, here comes the ultimate. Eddie has gone in. B is still okay, but now Killer Queen is here to just jump in, and with that bailout, and the flash of pullback does miss from that. So that's all of its defensive tools down, and now it's Skewed who is here. B is able to knock him away with a good handshake, and the Cyclone won't really result in much. That pullback does a lot, though, and now with Artifact coming down, whole lot of summoners blown, but nothing actually achieved in the bot lane.
Yeah, that was some gameplay. First of all, I mean, good play from Killer Queen to walk bot immediately after his grump. He could have gone for the full play towards topside, but he was actually smelling that Zeri wants to all in on that level 6, because that is what Zeris do, right? You have that huge power spike on level 6, where you have obviously the chance to chase most enemies down with your move speed, with your ultimate, but also you have about 250 burst damage AoE on the ultimate. That's basically Blitzcrank ultimate that you have on that level 6 spike, which in those trades can make a huge difference. Because it's basically insta damage onto your enemy, which is really nice to have. And so they were looking for that. Killer Queen was ready to answer it. In the end, it wasn't enough, and then Vid actually flashes in, but instead of punishing that flash on Skewed side, he was actually going for B a bit too deep and couldn't connect, and now top dive coming in.
That should be quite clean. Killer Queen juggles it beautifully, and now B and Gloria here to make sure Skewed falls down. Zuhao is in the wrong part of the neighborhood, but they decide they don't want to go for the third option. The few low health bars, especially on Glory and Nagia, just sort of say, all right, we're going to peel off and just take this Herald. We're going to get some plating in the mid lane with Vit's rotation. And at least for Team Secret, they are going to... Oh, never mind. Glory has a teleport, so Eddie not going to be able to just clean up some bot lane plates either. Pick up the Herald. Pick up the Herald.
Okay, we see back onto this top dive for now. And really nicely played from them, obviously, but I think I want to highlight the rotations here because immediately Vit actually moved into mid lane, so he wouldn't be isolated in bot, so there was not any counterplay possible. And at the same time, you had TP on Glory, so he was catching the bot wave. So I think they played it as good as you can play a Herald. And the answers from Team Secret were just a bit too late, and that's always the worst thing that can happen to you, is that you try to answer, but you're late and you don't get anything because you're not even getting a cross-map play in, which here at least would be some platings into Eddie, which didn't really happen. And since we don't see the scoreboard, we don't see if he ended up actually taking the Herald, and now we see the Drake fight.
Killer Queen is going to be caught out a little bit, but he has that bailout that hostile takeover came through. This pressure shall force away Team Wales and should secure a dragon for Team Secret, so it's a good pick. I do think Killer Queen does have that Herald. He did seem to have that little purple glow around it, but we're gonna see they just want to push off Vit, but no instant turn onto the dragon, despite Killer Queen's health bar.
Yeah, but Skewed also was pretty low. Artifact didn't have ultimate, and Rakan didn't have ultimate, so they really didn't have the tools anymore to get in there. And Team Wales seem actually way less reliant on the ultimate, especially Glory, of course, with that LeBlanc always able to play for the next ultimate because it's such a low cooldown. And we do actually see Herald was picked up, so everything is fine. Killer Queen remembered, and it was not lost. And now I'm just excited to see where they're going for it. I would like to see it in mid lane, because if you break that mid lane tier 1 turret, you're going to open up the map, you're going to open up both B and Glory to roam more. And generally, I expect that we will see the AD carries moving into mid lane pretty soon. For that Herald play, so Vit and B should probably look for bot prior, maybe even with Killer Queen, move into mid, and then the 4-man play with that Herald towards the turret probably just breaks it, because you can actually look for dives even on mid lane because you're that mobile. Lee Sin just tanks, gets out, LeBlanc just tanks for a second, gets out, Xayah can tank and then ulti and get out, so there are a lot of possibilities for you to drop aggro even though you don't have that massively tanky dude to just tank it forever.
And if Renard is there, you can always scuff it a little bit and be just fine, as the chains will land onto Artifact, push him down to half health, and there's that mid lane push with the Rift Herald. Lots of damage coming down onto Artifact. They're going to get the crash, and it will go onto Glory. They're not going to move onto the AD carries as you perhaps wanted, but still, the idea more or less are fine.
Yeah, I mean, they just did it without the AD carries. Both weren't really involved, which means that Team Wales couldn't build a numbers advantage, of course, but even in the 4v3, the dive would have been hard, so not really anything lost. And now we can see they're pushing in the priority on the bot side. They want to build some space for Vit, and especially already play bot side. I think up until the next Drake, you just play bot side for them. Yes, Herald is spawning, but it's second Herald, it doesn't really matter, and they want to stack Drakes because it's Infernal Soul on a team comp that, with a lot of damage potential and a lot of one-shot potential, just is gonna be so toxic to play against. Every time that LeBlanc jumps in, Q ulti just takes 80-90% of your HP bar, and then you build an advantage from there. And we can already see Killer Queen is not leaving anything in the jungle for the good Skewed, who is looking screwed right now.
Yeah, of course, worth pointing out that after that Herald push, Glory now has that Luden's. That's what it's called, Luden's Echo, or Luden's something else. But I got there. So now, of course, that burst much more potent, and Eddie, no magic resist built up yet on anyone except Artifact with those Merc Treads, so gonna have to start looking out, being a bit careful. Killer Queen's here, but everyone else is in position to dissuade the dive.
Yes, and it is a very slow game, but we see about 1.5k gold advantage here over to Team Wales, which obviously is a good step for them. And especially then mid jungle do, as said in draft, they have to start to snowball, and they are snowballing right now. And Drake, huge win condition again. I'm trying to reiterate it as often as possible. That Drake is gonna be the breaking point, because at fourth Drake, Team Secret, they have to start fighting this, and they're not ready. They don't have the items, and they're not gonna have the items. Because especially Zeri, she needs those 2.5 items, and she kind of needs her top side to pick up the slack and make sure that she gets there. They couldn't really deliver on that, and really nice punishes there from Team Wales, and now we can see that Nagia is scaling, and that the mid game is going to be really hard.
It looks like somewhere along the way there was a kerfuffle top lane where Hero used his ultimate. It's now coming just back up. So yeah, these top laners have just been wailing on each other and not getting a lot done. Both will be have the chance to be impactful in team fights, but as you mentioned earlier in the draft phase, there are opportunities for Team Wales to skip around what Team Secret are putting together. And now putting Glory up here should mean that a lot of what Hero has built in terms of stats, and the fact he's just an armor stacking Malphite, will feel a little bit worse against the armor penetrate, the magic damage. I'm good.
Yep. And we also see the rotation from both bot lanes into mid lane, and maybe Team Secret with the 4-man stack ready to punish, and we see even the Malphite moving, but that might give it away. And they're looking to play this Herald. They have 5 men here, but we see that Team Wales not really interested. They're just playing the other side of the map. They're looking for that bot turret maybe with the Jax. And we're gonna need to see. There are no TPs to actually answer this, so he is probably gonna get a decent amount of damage in, or even get the turret. And Team Wales, again, they're playing for Drake. They're not really caring about this Herald, and they didn't want to drop tempo for this Herald. Now we see the same stack from them. They get mid turret, and they're gonna transition that into Drake, and they are already in a winning play. Even if that Herald gets a turret, I think Team Wales got everything they wanted.
Yeah, they've got first brick. They got the mid lane tower. They're gonna pick up a second one as well, and now full control over the Drake pit. Though, given the Rift Herald, it might force them away. Glory has to be a little bit careful, as this Rift Herald will force Wales away from the pit. Jax not able to participate quite yet. Waiting for that teleport. Killer Queen on the angle. Could look for a big kick to start it off, but Team Wales a little bit scattered in the team fight compared to this Death Ball, which gives Team Secret a bit more priority.
Yeah, Team Secret now has to get onto Drake though, and Nagia is here, so mid lane priority. They're moving back into mid lane, they want to contest this, but Glory and Killer Queen are so annoying from these sides, from these flanks. And I'm not sure what B and Vit are doing. They're walking around right now. I think they were forced out, and it's just a dance. It's a dance between both of these teams, but so far Team Secret seems to be winning. But now they have to commit onto the Drake. The flank for Killer Queen is there. A good kick could end this fight.
Yeah, his kick jumped over into this bush. It doesn't seem like it's been spotted yet. Glory has been. But we're just waiting for Killer Queen to make the angle. It's going in, but Glory has just been collapsed on. The hostile takeover is huge, but Skewed is out of the pit, so it's going to be a dragon secured by Team Wales. And now there's the rest of the cleanup. There's no Glory. It's a 4v5, but Skewed goes down right now. Now Nagia jumps on top of Eddie, but he's able to get away. There's a lot of feathers, but the pullback does not secure anything. Eddie's stepping very far forward. Nagia with the flash jump. It's going to be done. Eddie's out. Hero is going to get away by just a bit, but no, B with a fantastic handshake will secure at least Hero. Killer Queen misses the Sonic Wave, so no more follow-up.
Yep, and we see it was a bit more scuffed than Team Wales might have wanted to have it, but in the end they do win it. And with Xayah Lee Sin, it's usually not really a 50-50 flip if you use it correctly, right? With the feathers and then the Q smite, you have so much damage this burst on the Drake. And yes, Xayah got the Drake, but she got it in that burst combo. And we see with Glory basically doing nothing. He did legit 0 damage in this team fight. Only a bit of poke before. They still win the team fight 4v5. And that just shows you how strong this mid-game team fight comp from them is once they get ahead, and how much they can do with that lead.
I think it is worth considering how much was blown to kill Glory, of course.
Yep.
Not being able to actually commit to the proper team fight with the Cyclone or the Malphite ultimate does hurt a lot and allows for such an aggressive chase down by Wales. And then, of course, because Glory died so early, he was able to teleport top lane and claim another tower. So just everything going in the way of Team Wales there. They now have 7 kills. Okay, they didn't quite secure the tower on the top side, apparently, but that's pressure regardless. And all in all, they didn't even actually lose that tower in the mid push by Team Wales. They might lose Killer Queen here as, yeah, there's, no? Okay, Gore Drinker value is insane. And Team Wales, Killer Queen just leaves.
That was way too much HP, my dude. what happened there, man? He got like what 2/3 HP by Godring Green. That didn't look
yeah,
fair. But
that's,
to be fair, Godring had I think 4 or 5 people, so I guess that is a bit fair if they're all second onto him. But yeah, that's the problem. You have to use everything to get one of those really mobile, really annoying people. We saw it with Glory before he actually died. This time they're going into Killer Queen again. They pull everything and still it isn't enough. And now the Drake is actually being started because Hero had to TP bot and Nagia still has his TP. So you have a numbers advantage here. You have big ultimates that are down, the Cyclone, the Rakan ulti, and that means that they're looking for the Baron. And the question is, do they want to finish it or do they want to turn? I think they should look for a turn and Nagia TPs in.
Yeah, I feel like that's the way you want to go. There goes the hostile takeover. It scatters Team Secret, and so, well, they won't be able to find the turn, but they'll just get the Baron instead.
Yeah, I mean, if Team Secret doesn't walk up, then you're not turning, but you could see they were pressuring for that turn. In the end, they just saw, okay, there is no Scoot here, there is no Team Secret here. We just finish out this Nash, and great play from them, and seeing that play with Heroes TP being out, and honestly, a big mistake also from Team Secret, TPing the Malphite down, because it made it a really obvious play to punish.
Yeah, they also haven't had a lot of, okay, Killer Queen is actually just going to solo kill. Skewed here has not had the best time, and now he's going to give it a little jump to his buddy Nagia. Yeah, Artifact not being able to pick up the teleport in the meantime with that spellbook to sort of counterbalance that teleport or anything, just, yeah, it meant you ended up with just an absolute mismatch for sure. And of course, we see that smart shot calling coming through that we tend to attribute to B, but it's been a factor of Wales this split, and it's been one of the reasons why they've stepped up so much compared to Summer.
Yeah, and I think that's the big difference. They do have the mechanical players to win, and they had them last year as well on that top side specifically. But with this introduction of B into the team, they don't look like that team that I saw last summer, where they were playing for kills. They were playing for mechanical advantages, right? They knew they had better players and they tried to force that through, but they would consistently lose against better teams. And this time it looked like, yes, in those big moments where at the Drake, for example, 4v5, they still trust in the mechanics to carry them through the team fight, but they're not relying on those hands anymore to win them games, and they are much more confident just playing
hostile takeover. It does just catch straight onto Zeri, and she will be deleted instantly. Skeet's gonna try his best to get out with that Cyclone, but it's not gonna be enough. Everything committed. Artifact's going to sneak away with that Spirit Rush, but it's a 4-for-0. Baron's still in hand, and that should be the broken base. That can easily be the soul as the pickup afterwards. If they don't just try to end, there's 20 seconds on Eddie.
I think they're looking for end here. Nagia
they're gonna hedge their bets and send Nagia to the dragon.
Yeah. Okay, so they're breaking the turret. They're not actually taking the inhib. They don't want to give that free CS over to their opponents, a free experience as well. So they're just content with the turret. Now they're backing off, taking a Drake and making sure they have the soul. They can just play for the next Nash, break base, and win it with that, which means the game is probably gonna go a few minutes longer, but it also means it should be a pretty clean game. And I didn't really see that coming, but B wonderfully punished for in the choke point, and that was a Malphite ulti.
That was a Malphite ulti to just try and scatter, but nope.
I mean, that's a problem with Team Secret Team Comp, and that's something that as a Malphite, you really have to be aware. Malphite is not a traditional tank that he wants to frontline, right? If you have an Ornn, you just put him in front, he takes damage to the face, and he's happy, right? Same thing with Sign, even more so with Sign. Malphite isn't that tank. Malphite can do that once his ulti is out, but it's really, really important that as long as he has his ultimate up, he's not the first one in. It has to be really clear that he has to chill, he has to chill. Then he finds that ult angle, and then he goes in. It can be the first one in, but most times, Malphite ulti, first one in, isn't that great. It's much better to send in the Rakan, it's much better to send in the Wukong, and now they engage on mid lane.
Yeah, they're gonna find Nagia, but this hostile take. Oh, it's just going to miss on the outside, and now Team Wales will pile on in, and everything has gone wrong for Team Secret. The engage is down. Okay, Eddie's gonna find one back. They weren't able to catch onto him, but now they re-engage. Oh, they're still just not able to kill Eddie, so now that's gonna be just a lot of gold going into the back of Team Secret. It's just not as Eddie got to survive the whole thing.
Yeah, Eddie just playing Zeri things, and now suddenly the Zeri is really strong in the game, and she might catch out the next guy. Nope, he jumps away. Nagia gets out, and huge mistake here, kind of, from Team Wales, overextending, and there was no need. I said it after Drake. Okay, guys, we're playing for next Nash, and we're breaking the base with next Nash. I have no idea what they're doing here. They're looking for the inhib now. Nagia gets caught in the end. Beast ultimate doesn't land, and they're going back into the team fight. And now they have everything out. There's nothing left to punish Eddie. Eddie takes full advantage, just chases in here. Vit with the flash tries to punish him, but Eddie flash is still up, and he ends up surviving and ends up punishing Team Wales. And that's huge goal swing, because one, suddenly your artifact on this Ahri is actually useful because he got some kills, and two, there were huge shutdowns given over to that Zeri, who now suddenly has the item power spikes to win the game. And yes, you're still at a disadvantage, but we can see how ridiculously much damage this Zeri did. And I want to remind you, Malphite ulted on bot. That was a team fight without Malphite ultimate. They weren't there wasn't a great engage tool, but they don't need it because they still have the Wukong, they still have the Rakan, and as long as they find good flanks with that Wukong or Malphite, they can win teamfight, especially since Eddie should be really strong now. And Eddie's laning always a bit questionable. It's, I think, his big weakness, but once he gets to those teamfights, once he gets some items, he actually becomes that really strong carry threat in late game, and so I believe he can take over teamfights from now. The big thing now is, though, they should actually probably be waiting for his flash to be up, if they can. If they are forced to this Nash, then fine, you're forced to it. But otherwise, look for the flash, because that is gonna be so important. And why is he building Navori?
Because Navori does a lot of damage. Between the ultimate stacks and the right click, you punch out a lot more damage. You do punch out a little bit more damage than the Infinity Edge, and you also get to dash around a lot more. Glory is going to have to dash around a lot, but Artifact will flash after, and it's going to be just a dead Glory. Buying time for Nagia.
If Nagia actually gets chased down here, he might be in trouble, but now we see both top laners having TP. Heroes TP comes out, and that might just be the Nash for Team Secret and Team Wales. You might have thrown it. Killer Queen has to be the hero now.
Okay, wait for the hostile. Hostile takeover coming through. Nagia has teleported in, and it will dissuade the Baron. Nagia will get charmed up, and this will probably end up in a dead Jax. Just gonna limp away, but here comes Hero. Still has that ultimate, and now Vit just unable to find these auto attacks. It's dissuaded the Baron for now. Glory is now back up and alive with teleport, so can he look for the flank? Can he find anything on the retreat? Hero is still lurking away, and everyone's just, it's back to Baron? Okay.
I mean, Eddie is low. Eddie doesn't have shield bow. He had to actually move away, but Artifact is coming back in with the TP, but Nash is already down. The team fight, how is this going to go?
And now Glory's wrapping around. Skewed is on no health. Neither is Eddie. Now Glory can just clean up. Eddie's going to have to clear the way, but he has no hope of getting out. Vit's going to try and run him down. That's arguably the one person you don't want to send after Eddie. But okay, Vit's got the red buff. He's got the Infernal Soul. He's going to try his best. He's manages to catch him down. And now Team Wales can push down the mid lane. They've broken the bot lane inhibitor. They have some super minions. They've got a decent wave mid, and this should be game one.
Yes, it is game one with a 10k gold lead in the end, and in the end, it was much more messy than Team Wales needed it to be. just because of that mid lane fight. And guys, we finish, right?
Guys, just end the game. Is this just a recon? It's just tanks at the moment. Just they have minions.
Somebody. Okay, we're ending. Okay. I was a bit scared there. Throwing away again. But in the end, they come out through. And you said it with the Navori. Yes, it does a decent amount of damage. But, and here's the big but, every top 80 carry that I've seen talk about, especially that Navori versus Infinity Edge, tells me build Infinity Edge on Zeri, because you have so much more damage in those important auto attacks. And if Korean 80 carry tells me that it's good, I think Guma said it, for example, in an interview, then I believe him. And so, especially in this game as well, where you're the main damage threat, you have to kill everybody in those auto attacks that you can get out. I think you just build Infinity Edge and you play for as much damage as possible.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it works out roughly similar, but anyway, what we do see is pretty heavy gold lead, just going all the way to Wales, except that small dip as you see just towards the end, and pretty even distribution across the board. So everybody on Team Wales contributing to that win pretty well. So we love to see a team work together.
Yeah, but I think we have to highlight one big difference between the teams, and that's jungle. I mean, Skewed looked lost. This poor man, I think he was invaded level 3, then they get Dove, and after that he just really didn't find back into the game. He had one good engage from behind on Nagia, and that mid lane fight opened that up, but otherwise he was basically a non-factor, was misplaying in a lot of situations, didn't really look up to par, and definitely couldn't bring anything to Killer Queen. So even if you think that he's probably better for performing in scrims, for example, right now, I think if you want to have a difference, bring in Penguin, just because he has more experience. He's not gonna fall behind, or even if he's gonna fall behind, he might have the experience to come back, find something for his team anyways, and also make sure that he knows where Killer Queen is probably gonna invade, because Skewed didn't look like he knew that Killer Queen could be there, and that Killer Queen was looking for mid lane. When you looked at mid lane, it could be pretty clear that the Ahri was in big trouble, and that they could be looking for a dive there. So I think that's a big difference that they have to now think about, because jungle was an absolute disaster, together with mid lane, who in the 1v1 also was getting gapped a lot. So I think bringing somebody in with more experience might help them.
Well, we're gonna see very shortly, I suppose, who did they decide to field for game 2? Do they bring in Penguin, or does Team Secret continue to trust Skewed and maybe give him something with a bit more early priority just in the draft? We'll find out after this break.
Seems to matter what I do, so I'm saving this for you, 'cause it seems to be the last piece there is, and you haven't had a chance yet to taste this. Fragments of our life you shouldn't miss. Seems to matter what I say, so I'll hold my tongue at bay. I'd rather use my mouth to kiss your frown away, so your doubts no longer darken your day, so you can hold your head up high, come what may. And please remember that I'm gonna follow through all the way. Seems to matter where I go, so I will
The night beckons while you dream. A life never lives in peace. As you stand upon the edge, woven by a single thread, and fate may fall down upon you, while the devil is knocking right at your door. So are you restless? Each night you hear the drums of war. Awaken, awaken, the voice begins to call you while you hunger. A taste of destiny you're searching for. Awaken, awaken, the fight is at your door. Take up the cause.
And welcome back to the VCS English. I am Abanogi. This is Tim. That's Tim. I got the things right. We are back with Team Wales versus Team Secret, and at game one, Tim, we saw Team Wales pretty much handedly snowball a very good game out of them. Save a little bit of a slip up.
Yeah, I mean, they played a really good game, and then they decided to run it on mid lane. You were saying, I think, that they wanted to be in. They want to play a bit longer because they're paid by game time, and that's kind of what it looked like. Because they could have just played for the next Nash, and I think if they take that soul, play for topside control, maybe play it more slowly, play around their vision, and then play or take the next Nash and just walk into enemy base. I think there's not much that can be done against them, but they flip it in mid lane, then they flip it at Nash like 3 times back and forth, and in the end they win the flip also because of their gold lead. Of course, they just beat them up with the purses, and I don't think that's a great way to close it out. So as a coach myself, that would be the moment where I would go to my players and be like, well, we won, but guys, are you really serious about this?
Yeah.
This is not a good win, because like, it's always infuriating, right, as a player, as a coach, when you play a really great game for such a long time and then you just decide to run it down. So take it away in the next game, and I think they've played basically perfect game, and I'm excited to see what they bring into the next game, what sides they bring in, also what maybe Team Secret brings to contest them, because if they play a similar jungle matchup again, mid-jungle duo again, I see them just going into disaster again, because I don't think Skewed, with that matchup, with that mid lane matchup as well, can really do anything against Killer Queen.
Yeah, we definitely saw a bit of a diffy in the Miffy and the Jiffy there. That sort of level 2, level 3 dive coming out just sort of signaled how that matchup was going to go. But what would you like to see from Team Secret in that regard? A more stable control mage for Artifact, a Lee Sin or something just as aggressive from Skewed? Or, I mean, I know before the break you said you wanted to see Penguin back in, but we don't know who's coming in, of course. So,
I mean, it really depends how low you are on Artifact, because right now I think in that matchup it's like a 55-45 matchup for LeBlanc. You shouldn't be that low level 3 being Dove in the 1v1. Like, that shouldn't happen, and then obviously 2v2 came in. So I think Artifact has to find something where he isn't getting completely gapped in mid lane by Glory, and that's not going to be easy. They again, this time Violet's of course is on blue side, so they're looking for that first pick. Gragas, Annie again banned. I think those are the strongest two first picks, and it's just going to be Lee Sin first pick. And I like that, however, because Killer Queen really dominated on the Lee Sin, and now for Skewed, it's a big question. What can you play into that? And maybe you even go for something crazy like a Poppy, for example, to really just neutralize. Because the Wukong really wasn't it, my dude.
Yeah, I appreciate the takeaway of the Xayah. Vit has been finding a lot more success on this. This has sort of been his number 2 pick behind the Varus, but Varus is often banned against him, so I like to see that takeaway. Wukong has been a bit of a favorite on the count that even if you do fall behind, he has impact, but Viego could be that. Could give you that early snowball if you manage to find the picks and put them and chain them together. So up to where do Wales want to go now? Jinx looks to be the option.
I really like the Jinx lock in. Jinx, a decently good matchup into the Xayah, and if you pair it, for example, with the Thresh, then you have yourself a really good jungle duo, and they really like playing into Rakan. Rakan isn't great into that bot lane, so you're basically preemptively countering the Rakan. Now, the answer that Zhuhao could bring here is picking Nautilus, because Nautilus is traditionally good into Thresh, but it's still a playable matchup, so you're fine with that. I think the worst they could do is actually Blitzcrank. It's really hard for Jinx Thresh to play into that Blitzcrank, but I am not sure if we're gonna see that today. Again, the Rakan could be playable, but it's not a great matchup, so I hope they're not going for it. They went for it, so...
Yep. Yeah, I think outside of the lane, I think they really appreciate that big snap engage coming from Suhao. Nautilus does do that, but I guess that's just what they want to go for. Anyway, but we're seeing respect given to Glory, that LeBlanc being banned away. They don't want to match up into that, and so with that, the RE also being banned off. And mid lane looks to be a bit of a focus, just try and make sure these players are pushed down to what they want. Artifact thinking his champion pool might be a bit deeper.
Okay, Artifact, there's a champion that is really good with Viego, and that is... Okay, it's banned. I'm sad. But honestly, great ban from Vales. Like, the moment you see that Syndra ban come out, I'm thinking Vega. Vega's really strong right now. He can even be played as a flex pick. That wasn't possible here anymore. Now we see the Ryze pick coming in. I think Cassiopeia is just insane here. I think if Glory can play it, I think Cassiopeia wins you the game. Now, okay, Sante was banned last game, especially into Nagia, so they're hovering that and could be going for that in top lane in blind. And just locking Cassiopeia, it just wins you the game.
I don't know if Glory is the biggest player of it, so Victor much more in his wheelhouse. Does similar things, but yeah, it's a bit different.
I mean, the thing with Victor is you have more range, so you can actually... Okay.
This might be the Cassio.
Yeah, it's also like... I can't see it. The stream is loading for me currently.
Yes, I also have a bit of a frozen screen, so... they do have the Cassio locked in, as we are apparently told.
Yes, the Cassio is locked in, and yes, Victor would have done a very similar thing, but Cassio is just more specific in what she does. He's just really good into Viego as well. Now, we see the Fiora locked in as the fifth pick. Of course, good matchup into K'Sante individually. K'Sante has some angles where he can go, but I don't think Nagia really cares much. I think he just wants to get into those team fights and be that front for his team. And also, the 4-man unit, even if Fiora isn't there, I think the 4-man unit is really winning for Wales. And I like what Team Wales brought here. I think the Cassiopeia just breaks the entire enemy draft, and it's all about the Xayah finding something, but she is getting outranged by the Jinx, so it's not going to be easy for her, and it's so hard.
Yeah, so... Sorry, I didn't actually catch that last pick from Team Secrets.
It's Fiora.
Fiora, okay. Yeah, definitely a bit of a skill matchup. Definitely, we've seen K'Sante, especially Nagia's K'Sante, roll some Fioras before, so... I expect to see a pretty lane dominant top side coming out from Team Wales, and yeah, I think it's... I mean, of course, you're sort of thinking these two big late game sort of carry threats are going to be important as we move on to the Rift. Can Killer Queen and Nagia sort of bridge that gap for the Cassio and Jinx to hit those late game dominance because sort of looking for about about three items on each, I would imagine.
I mean, yes, but I also think that Cassio and Lee Sin should be winning out of the gate. I think they don't even have to outscale. I think if they're in an even state, they just win mid jungle again. And that is also a problem that, yes, Rice and Veo can do a lot, but not really into Cassia de Sin, because you can't really one-shot Cassia after level 3 because she has her W, of course, she's building a lot of HP. One-shotting de Sin isn't easy, and that's what they need to do to win in mid-jungle, right? They CC lock one target and then just run it down. That's really hard to do against that Killer Queen Glory duo, so I think it's going to be really, really hard for them to play mid-jungle again, and if the mechanics and the execution go similarly, where Glory and Killer Queen even have an advantage in that case, it's going to be incredibly hard again for Team Secret to play this. And then that should enable Vit to just free scale on the Jinx. Once those 2-3 items come in, he should be shooting. And Killer Queen is going to be spotted.
Yeah, we see. Killer Queen will be spotted. There is vision down in the Team Secret jungle, so they will be able to deduce somewhat where Skewed is at some point, but as it is right now, he has the potential to make a play through just clearing bot lane and clearing bots through this bot side jungle and going down into the lane if Team Wales push up a bit too much, and we can see they have pushed it very aggressively. Want to hit that early level 2. With the Flay, Suha shouldn't really be able to achieve all that much. But there we go, hook online for B.
Generally something for those Thresh lanes. There are two really distinct Thresh lanes, right? There's the Aphelios Thresh and there's the Jinx Thresh. Aphelios Thresh, usually that lane that wants to fight you. They want to fist fight you. Aphelios with the range gun or with his guns all around, just really strong and can always find advantages. Jinx is very different. Jinx just wants to push, because Jinx, with her rocket launcher, is basically one of the best pushing AD carries on that early levels. So that's how Jinx plays the lane. She just walks up and pushes the entire time. You don't hit enemies, you don't care about enemies, and all you do is push, and we can see that already.
Okay, Glory got a little bit hypey, I think, and tried to dive Artifact, and it didn't work.
Yeah, I want to see what happened there, but anyways, in bot lane, everything is fine, and the Jinx is gonna be your main carry, right? So Cassio doesn't matter, smiley face. But that really now changes the matchup as well, right? And what is Glory?
Yeah, lands the poison and tries to flash to get some extra fangs in, but quick response from Artifact.
But he's playing into Phase Rush, and he doesn't have Phase Rush. He's never catching. Okay. Pressing tab is not that easy, so we give him benefit of the doubt that he didn't see. And in top lane, you said it, Nagia already taking names on that case Hunter, even in the VR matchup, and even here we can see that he uses that early bounce that he's given to just shove in and force the VR away, even with jungle on his side. Vit now in bot lane.
Vit now in a bit of a bad position, but now trying to escape with Killer Queen in the area. If a hook lands, that could spell the end for Eddie. Killer Queen's gonna just try and shove out the way, but kept in place by the feathers. Really just aggressive trading, trying to get this wave to crash. But missteps could... Okay, nothing's gonna actually happen. But bit of a kerfuffle. And a lot of things blown by Eddie.
Yeah, Eddie loses his flash in the end, Vit doesn't, which means, there's a flash advantage on this Jinx, and Jinx is just safer because, again, the Jinx just wants to scale, the Isaiah Khan, they want to find something onto her, and now Skewed is in mid lane. They might be looking for Glory, he doesn't have flash.
He does not, they have a lot of damage, and Skewed can go on the tower. He's going to flash away, the Overload does not hit, so Glory is going to get out very narrowly. And with that sustain, should be okay. Should be just fine to stick around. Maybe bait Skewed in for a repeat. Especially with B lurking.
B is nearly here. They could be looking for Artifact as well. He doesn't have flash. Remember, now Skewed doesn't have flash either. B backing off once he sees the Viego still being there. because Zhuhao is also showing up, so both supports just being here to help out the mid laners, and TPs are out for both mid laners, so Glory really needs to have the reset here. They need a shove out, and Skewed and Zhuhao know this, but Killer Queen as well.
That's just going to be a quick push down there, but the kills are coming in quick. Killer Queen gets taken down and transformed. Glory just dodges into the Sonic Wave. And now Skewed picks up 2 and can convert that into a quick dragon, and that's a much better start for the side of Team Secret than Game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. They now have the game gold advantage. They have the Drake, and they get much better in this game. And it's again Killer Queen just going a bit too deep with Glory not really having any HP. It's really hard to play this. B wasn't in position either, and that meant everybody was collapsing onto the Lee Sin. We can see it here. Lee Sin is coming from the upside, but it's really hard for B to join this, and he has to even flash in to get anything else. Then Glory actually survives for a pretty long time, but the Lee Sin pickup and the word already in the bush means that Skewed is actually able to close to Glory and ends up killing him there. And then with the Cassio, it's really easy to take the Drake because Cassio, of course, has massive DPS on objectives.
Yeah, so right now, it's a good lead for Team Secret. This mid jungle working out in their favor this time around. Glory has now hit level 6, so the playmaking potential has been increased. Artifact will turn away, just as I call it out, essentially.
I mean, you said Glory isn't really a Cassio player. He's showing that so far.
Yeah, he's got two games in it on his career. I just checked. They are both wins, but okay, here comes the realm war.
Into mid, yeah?
And there is almost no hope for Glory here, as there's just the quick 3. And no, the push isn't enough from Team Wales to counter it.
Yeah, but again, mistake from Glory. One, of course, he blew his ultimate, which would have helped here. And 2, why is he even flashing? I mean, he's definitely that there. Not using his flash would have been a huge advantage here in the coming fights towards that next strike, and especially towards the Herald, where he wouldn't need that flash probably to find an ultimate, for example, or to get away from that engage. So again, small mistakes from Glory that we didn't really see in the last game, and that means he gets outclassed by Artifact so far. Artifact getting great into the game as Ryzen so far. He has basically lost 1v1 all the time, but he's always tried to find something with this team and played really well around timers and waves.
Yeah, so now Team Wales are going to try and catch out Team Secret with this rotation, moving the bot lane up to this top side. It's not going to be read just yet by the side of Secret, and this should result in a pretty quick herald for the side of Team Wales that they can probably convert into a quick tower on the top side.
Yeah, and especially getting gold into Vit here can be so important because he's definitely the linchpin to open up the game, because who is realistically going to get onto him? Yes, maybe the Rakan gets onto him, but then there's the Thresh Lantern. You have to get deeper, and there's no real follow-up, no high movement speed champions that can just follow up and help out Vit. So it's really hard for them to get onto him, to get something from him. And I think he will be definitely the player to dominate the game if he gets that gold. It's always Jinx. 2.5, 3 items, and she dominates. And we have to see if she gets there uncontested. Of course, in a 1v1 against Hero right now, she should be probably losing.
Yeah, this is also what feels nice for Vit this game is there's not really a big front line you feel the need to build a Lord Dominic's Regard into, so can get straight into that Infinity Edge after her Zeal item and go for these sort of more fun items like the Bloodthirster to keep herself alive as well. So they're gonna try and collapse onto Skewed and Suhao, but no, they're out of there. Glory not quite fast enough without those boots, and the passive has to of course scale up, because Cassio can't buy boots. Nagir's going to take a bit of a beating, but that's to be expected in this current assignment.
Yeah, I mean, they're just sending Nagir down here and basically telling him, get as much as you can. We don't really care about you. Case Hunter, you're going to be strong anyways. And on the other hand, we want to have more gold into our Jinx. And now we can see 3 people in top lane actually putting some pressure onto the Jinx, trying to deny her some CS at least, making sure that she doesn't get ahead freely. because again, she is now the strong part. It was the Casio, it was the Lee Sin who could have dominated the early game, but misplaced in the mid jungle who actually prevented them. And great team play also from Zhuhao, always being there for the fights in the right position. Means that mid jungle duo didn't go too well for Team Wales, and now they're backing up and they're moving towards Vid on that Jinx to carry them. And another Rise ulti.
Glory's gonna survive this one, just uses the ultimate as a means to scare them off, but you already see the lead come through and materialize. That Rod of Age is already complete for Artifact, still in the works for Glory, so gonna be delayed ever more. Now Artifact having full control of this river means that Vit can't really go up and pressure that tower and try and break it as he would want to. So Team Secret sitting pretty right now. Haven't extended that gold lead any further, but they're not falling behind as Dragon is now set to spawn.
Yeah, now it's their win condition. Now it's their Drake to stack. And what is all?
Nagia teleported to top lane. Hero still has his.
Yeah, I mean, I think they decided to give up this Drake. I mean, right now, I think the Casio, in a wave, just wants to reset to get the Rod of Ages as soon as possible. So she's probably going to use the Drake timer to just make sure maybe you're sending in Killer Queen to get a steal for you. And now they're posturing, though. What, like...
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, Hero can't really TP without losing massively on top lane. And Killer Queen now gets flash in mid lane.
Yep, and the kick straight into the hook. That should be donated pretty comfortably over to Glory. Killer Queen's going to escape on the top side of the play, and that is exactly what Team Wales needed to revitalize their play right now, as Vit's going to get 1v1'd as Eddie has a full Gale Force.
Yep, Gale Force diff for Eddie here coming out, punishing greatly, and that now means the Drake is probably still going over, even though you got killed in the mid lane. Killer Queen is pretty low, and now we see the play again. Killer Queen forces the flash with his ward jump, now has the kick flash to get in, and then W from Glory. He gets flayed back into it as well. Artifact just can't get out whatsoever. He gets run down, and now we see Vid walking into River, and that's just also a mistake from him.
Yeah, just walking blind into the Sire, and once that route lands, that's pretty much done.
And also because he should have known that his team kind of gave up river control going into mid lane, right? They're moving out towards top side, especially Killer Queen. So full river control was over with Team Secret. There could have been Zhuhao on Rakan as well. They could have been skewed on the Viegos also. I think him stepping up, just big mistake from him. Not respecting, but still, now you got your Casio back into the game. She has a Rod of Ages now as well. Yes, 3 minutes after the rise, but the question is, are those 3 minutes really going to change anything? And the answer is probably no. Or it's really hard to force something in those 3 minutes. So once Casio finds her next item, which she probably still can at a similar timer as the rise, because she doesn't buy boots, so those 1.1k gold just don't exist for her, means that she is probably going to get her 2 item power spikes, very similar with the rise.
Yeah, that's definitely seems to be the case. Now, it's going to be shortly that the placings are going to go down, and we're seeing a lot of pressure happen in the bot side. Vit's losing out on that 1v1 with Eddie. And now Eddie's just going to go for it again. Oh my god, this bot diff is going to be huge. And now Skewed is here to kill B. And there's very little this Thresh can do. He played it about as well as possible. And now Killer Queen's here. He's going to try and do something. But Artifact holding off Glory, it may help out in the long run. It's a decent ultimate, and oh no, Glory dies and Skewed gets to get reset. Viego gets to exist. I hate this champion. This champion is so fat.
I think we kind of all do, except if we're playing it, and I love to play it, so I don't hate it as much. Eddie just 1v2 dove them.
Yeah.
Eddie's he did it. Like, his Rakan isn't even close. He just walks up, sees B, doesn't care, kills him. This man has balls of steel.
Yeah, it's... Of course, the Jinx buffs haven't come in yet. And probably wouldn't have helped either way, but just narrowly dodging the hooks as well from B, that Eddie played it so damn well. And Killer Queen and Glory get one back, but they're just not able to get anything done. Eddie... didn't get stunned there. Wouldn't have mattered with the cleanse, of course, but Yeah, bit interesting. And they're going to get a Herald, but that's pure consolation at this point.
I mean, it's also so close in bot lane, right? Because if Skew just dies 1 second earlier, then he doesn't get the kill onto Glory, then Eddie dies as well. You probably get double triumph onto Glory. He survives Artifact as well, and you run that guy down as well, and the game is completely different. So that one alt attack that was missing to kill the Viego just changes the entire game, maybe. But still, both teams have a chance to win it. I think in 1 minute 50 we will really see, and we will also see how Nagia can get into the game, because so far no play was played with Nagia. He was just laning isolated against the Fiora, which he kind of doesn't want to do. When you're playing against Fiora, you usually want to impact the map, you want to impact team fights. He really couldn't do that until now, and it's now necessary to see how he can impact the map, because if he's now getting into those team fights and can build advantages for his team, it's going to be really easy, because if he, for example, gets to Eddie, even though he's 3-0, just will not win.
Vic is just taking a beating. He is... Eddie just walks up in half health and every time. Just can't seem to dodge.
Do you think it's toxic to say, how can you lose to Eddie in lane?
I mean, yes, but also it's Vit, so I'm not actually surprised.
Yeah, I mean, like, losing to Eddie in teamfights, fair enough. I think he's a really good team fighter, but in lane, just not the strongest player, and it really hasn't been Juha. Usually, when we see Eddie succeed in lane, it's often that Juha just finds great angles, but Eddie just in the 1v1 finds massive advantages. Again, he dove 1v2 and won, and I'm just really surprised that he managed to do that, and positively surprised, obviously. And if he can pull that through, and if he can keep it as clean, it's very good. And now we're involving Nagia by sending Killer Queen top.
Yeah, and there's just so much CC. The all-out does come through, and Artifact will be taken down, and a pressure placed upon this top lane tower. Should be a bit of gold. Shouldn't fall down, of course. It's still full health, but that is a bit of gold and a bit of relief to the side of Team Wales to try and open up space and contest this third dragon. Perhaps Rift Herald as well going to be an important part of that. But I'm worried about this 80 carry diff. Zeddy is getting close to those quick blades, and Vit still trying to piece together a Zeal. Yeah, when you half health yourself to all out, you run the risk of a hero happening.
Yeah, and also I think he was caught out on the recall, and hero just runs him down afterwards. So, great hook there from B. As we refuse to see what is happening.
We don't get to look at it, but yeah, hero does fall down, and that is a much needed kill over to the Jinx. Ultimate not available, and third Drake soul point to the side of Team Secret, so they're not gonna complain too much, our Team Secret, but it means in 5 minutes, Team Wales has to get as much gold as possible and try and find that fight.
So we know two things. One, Drake Soul is really important, and again, it's Infernal Soul, so that could really impact the game. And two, our observers hate Drake because they want to show the Drake, and we see the hook again. Great hook here. Then the Casio ulti lands as well. Hero doesn't really get anything with his W, and it's Vit who picks up the kill with the ultimate in the end, which is actually important because yes, Glory with gold can of course do a lot, but you need Vit in this game. You need him to exist, and so far he had a really good game. He was funneled resources, and then he got gapped by Eddie, and now, oh no,
RFC.
So
not a fan.
not a fan whatsoever. Especially if you play against long range comps, I can maybe understand it, right? But you have 3 melees, a Ryze, and a Xayah. You're outranging the enemy team anyways, even without rapid fire cannon. Why are you building rapid fire cannon and not just Phantom Dancer?
Not Phantom Dancer or Runans. Yeah.
Yeah, like he legit decides to not deal damage and have more range. Not dealing damage. Like what? This makes me unhappy.
I can only go on a cost reasoning, but I don't even actually know if that is true.
I think it costs 200 gold less. I think it actually does cost a little bit less, but also there isn't anything spawning, right? I mean, they're probably not gonna rush Baron immediately. So like 200, 300, even 400 gold doesn't really matter in this game state because you probably end up getting that anyways. And yeah, so he I mean, I'm just hoping the next item is not going to be that something like a GA, and I mean, they're going to make me eat my words. They're starting Nash immediately, and they have a lot of damage.
They do have a lot of damage. The rocket is enough to sort of scare them off. They definitely don't want to be caught in that pit. And we're just sort of seeing a bit of trading back and forth on the bot lane. Not really much to be done. Nagia shouldn't die to Hero, though it is a long lane for Hero to run down. But
I mean,
now,
at this point, also Nagia can't win, though. I mean, like, yes, he's probably not going to die because he is too tanky to really be killed. I mean, Hero probably runs out of mana before Nagia dies. But at the same time, he's not going to win against Hero from this point onward. Hero has 1.5 items. He's going to have the priority, but Nagia is really going to try to fight Hero on this.
Yeah, he's definitely just going to try and make him regret stepping up at least. Okay, going to go for the all-out. Now should have the damage, but Zhu Hao is here. Can he actually get it done? No, he cannot. But I think he would have won that 1v1. So I'm going to call it worth for Nagia. It's trade on the top side. Artifact once again getting bullied. And now seeing the presence on the bot side, Team Wales are going to just try and turn onto this Baron. Skewed can get into the pit, though. So this is very dangerous.
Hero is probably going to recall NTP towards this Baron as well, and I think that is kind of what Team Wales wants to have. They want to get this TP and get out, and we're seeing that disengage now.
Yeah, and that's a huge ultimate coming in from Glory. It's not quite enough though. Skewed gets that reset and gets to start off, and now Viego gets to do Viego things. Glory's going to do his best, but there's no real chance, and they go one by one into the grinder, and Team Secret will get this Baron as a reward. Yeah, okay, Team Secret gonna do well this time.
Mabi?
Yeah.
Why did they run in 1x1?
Good question. Why?
I mean, like, if we look back at this, okay, B dies, right? And now you try to get out some damage. Like, why is Vit...
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they didn't try and turn on Zhu Hao off, who was separated at least, but yeah. It just jumped to the grinder. It's...
Like, just walk away, like, B dies, well, shit, we walk away. Like...
Yeah, that's, yeah, it's Viego Gaming. If one person on your team dies, congratulations, you've lost the whole fight.
Yeah, but they decided to lose the fight, so
they decided to lose the fight a lot worse. I will agree there. But now with the Baron in hand, Team Wales really doesn't want to lose this dragon, but it's kind of hard for them to win this being down so far. It's going to take a big overstep, a good hook, and perhaps a catch on to Skewed. But best item in the game is there. They are going to actually, maybe, possibly, yes, they pick it up, but the damage is done. Everyone else just dies. Vit gets run down, B as well, and that doesn't matter that you killed Viego, because Eddie got to free fire.
Yeah, I mean, they played well, right? It's they get the catch in the first place on Team Wales side, but the stopwatch buys enough time for Team Secret to just turn. Eddie gets to free fire, Artifact gets to free fire, Hero gets to be in the fight, and yes, you get the first kill, but it doesn't really change anything for you. And on the other side, I'm still asking myself, you were right. I think they should have picked Viego. They should have picked Victor.
Yeah.
Cassio wasn't the play, because if we look at the Cassio ulti, it's like he goes into like what is?
Yeah, he does it after the stopwatch has already come through, which is
yeah,
it's not good.
No, it's really
bit of a poor game from Glory this time around, but you have game 3. You have game 3.
We have game. I think we can already start kind of talking about game 3. I think even with the possible play or team div that we saw in game 1, I don't think it's winnable anymore. There are too many damage threats on the side of Team Secret. Top, jungle, mid lane, AD carry, they can all at this point carry the team fights. And Zhu Hao, of course, with shields, with heals, and the CC, that's a perfect setup for his team, for his carries. And if you kill one, We saw in last fight it doesn't really change anything for the rest of the 3 guys. Now,
Yeah.
Joao ulti is out,
You can see
which
that.
makes it
That's-
possible. Which
that's
makes it
still
possible to
different.
dive. Yeah, which makes it possible to dive in top lane harder, for sure. But the 10k gold again probably just wins you the fight anyways. As we see Nagia. Nagia?
Nagir is stepped very far up. He's going to get out, and that is a pretty decent hook, and they're going to convert it. A kill into Zuhao and a big hook onto Artifact as well. Can be find a third. They're just going to lose their base in the meantime, though, as Fiora is going to just push down the base. And Team Wales, you have to respond to that. You got your 2 kills. You're done. You're happy. As the base just falls apart in the meantime.
I guess Nagia is just the best baiter in the universe. I mean, he was baiting that for his life, and somehow we get 2 kills. Both though onto Killer Queen, who at this point really isn't the carry that you want to have any gold on anymore, and rather you want to have it on Glory, you want to have it on Vit. But it definitely shows that you can play teamfights, especially with Miasma that basically locked down Juhao. We can see it here, and then Juhao is the reset for the Jinx. Jinx gets her boost, get excited, yeah, and just runs down the enemy team all around. And now we see that both teams, remembering last game as well, had those small mistakes in front of the enemy base. For Team Wales, there was a mid lane, now for Team Secret in top lane, and they just have to make sure to not have those too often, because again, as in the last game, we saw Eddie on the Zeri being able to nearly carry the game. Similar things are true for Vit and Glory in this game, who both scaled very nicely.
Yeah, we see now Glory has completed the Rylai's. We'll be able to provide a bit more utility, a bit more options for Vit, who in turn has completed that Infinity Edge, so will actually start to be doing a lot of damage. Still a full item behind Eddie, of course, who has now got that Lord Dominic's and Rapid Fire Cannon of his own.
And to just make it clear for the viewers, the Rapid Fire Cannon on Xayah actually makes a lot of sense, because she is getting outranged, and she wants that extra range to get over Miasma and such spells. So for her, it makes sense. Just to make sure, I don't hate Rapid Fire Cannon, I just hate it here on the Jinx. Oh.
Yeah. Looking forward. Oh, that's a good hook, though, and they're going to not get anything, because Heartbreaker is OP.
But I think trading B's ultimate for Heartbreaker, I think is completely fine for Team Wales here, and that is definitely a spell that I think for Nash is still gonna be missing. And SQ has a really weird item build that I haven't seen in a long time. He just rushed GA second, wants to make sure that he just, if he dies, if he gets caught, he just revives and maybe gets a reset, so his team trades him out, and then he gets a reset. Once he gets out.
Eddie and Zuhao going in very aggressively. That's going to force the teleports out of Team Wales. There's Glory going to be a little bit sore, as Hero did a lot of damage to him, and now Hero kills. We get 2 screens of that. Hero killing Nagia. And the rest of Team Secret going to turn onto Baron with that Infernal Drake. That is just basically gone. Hero is living forever. Hero is living forever. I don't know what to say about this. Okay, Hero's just gonna
He legit 1v5 because he used his ulti. He used his ulti on Glory, who TP'd into mid lane, killed Nagia, and then went 1v3, killed 2, then went 1v2, killed another one. This guy just, okay. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That...
No, I respect it. I respect it.
Okay, Team Wales, that was a mess of a game, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, and that's actually a really interesting thing, because when they had that mid-jungle control and could play through those 2 lanes, it felt like they were in complete control and really, really strong all around. But now in this game, where you had those early mistakes to just put you behind your mid lane, it felt like they couldn't really do anything. And yes, Glory did a lot of damage in the teamfight later on as well. We can see he actually out-damaged the Ryze, but it didn't really matter, because you couldn't snowball that mid-jungle lead into bot lane, and that's what they won them game 1. So now they kind of have to think about, okay, how can we make sure that those mid lane oopsies don't happen, so we can actually get back and dominate the map again as in game 1.
Yeah, so somehow Viego only actually did 4.7k damage, which looks really weird, but it doesn't matter because Eddie absolutely smurfed this game, crushed the bot side, and kept it rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, yes, Viego only did 5k damage, but it's to be expected, right? I mean, the enemy team comp is really good into him. He really isn't a good champion in this game, but it didn't really matter because mid lane, obviously in the 1v1 already was losing, and then with him there, with Zhuhao there, who I think was a standout player in those early fights, making sure that his mid jungle duo actually this time ended up winning. And we asked the question, how can they play around mid jungle duo? I think the answer definitely was Zhuhao is just there, and Eddie, meanwhile, in the 1v2 just is better than both of them.
Yeah, well, okay, so game 1, pretty dominant. Game 2, also pretty dominant. But for the other team, we're going to see how game 3 turns out. Red side, 100% win rate so far. And we'll find out after the break. welcome back to VCS English. We have a very interesting series on our hands. Team Secret able to pretty much come back from a devastating loss and crush Team Wales in that second game. And there was a lot of good plays coming out from Team Secret, especially that bot side and Hero as well. But a lot of mistakes from Team Wales that we really need to see cleaned up.
Yeah, especially I think Glory in the mid lane. I think Glory giveth and Glory taketh away. Game 1, he was really the strong player leading his team on that LeBlanc. Game 2 now, way too many laning mistakes. It started with him getting overconfident, trying to dive Artifact and dying, and from there it went downhill for that Cassiopeia. And we saw the team comp working. I mean, especially the 5k damage on the Vego showed that Vego really didn't have a place in this team, right? He really didn't have the strength to work in that team comp, but it didn't end up mattering because too many mistakes just put Team Wales behind, and they continued those mistakes into the team phase, and especially Vit really didn't look great at all at any point in the game, and he should have had a pretty easy game on that Jinx. Given that he got so much gold in the early game, they swapped him, then he got platings in top. He was in a great position, and then Eddie just ran him over. So I think one step we want to see, I think, is Xayah ban. So Xayah doesn't get first picked, because it made Eddie actually look good, and we want to see the bot lane dominating Eddie. And both AD carries kind of look good on Xayah. So whoever's getting her probably looks good again. And we want to see both AD carries struggling. I think that's the most fun part for the viewers.
Yeah, I think maybe as well, perhaps something like B on a bit more of a engager, something that can actually set up the team fights a little bit better. The Thresh wasn't so bad, but I think just not quite having as much agency as to start a fight as a Nautilus or similar might have hurt them a bit. But yeah, that especially with the likelihood of Wales going back to red side, Xayah first pick seems a bit scary for sure, and without that added inbuilt safety, Vit, it does seem to be struggling. We saw Xayah and Varus being his two preferred picks, and he gets to sit very safely on those two. Either sitting 10 miles away with a poke Varus or just having Vit's inbuilt or Xayah's inbuilt safety. So now Wales has to choose Annie or Xayah to hit the bench.
And that means Xayah first pick is up and it should be grabbed for Eddie. And now the question is, what do we answer? Because the Jinx wasn't it. It was the B on the Thresh was completely fine. You said it. He didn't have the agency we might have wanted, but I think with a better performance from his AD carry, that's completely fine, and he doesn't need it, right? Now, the Wukong would really surprise me, because Wukong is not a great pick into Xayah, and isolated it isn't the greatest, especially with the Sin open. I'm not sure why Critic Queen now would move off it, but it's gonna be the Wukong for him. And something, if Vit plays it, that could be really good here is a Vega flex, because Vega actually pretty good into Xayah or Khan. No, man.
No.
I mean, actually, I think we both don't like Jhin, right? I think that's true. But it is one of these AD carries that just can stand back and play from a really long range and just play safe. You get basically auto push in lane. It's really hard to screw up on Jhin too much. So I think that might just be a champion for Vit where he can't run his support down and his support just gets through.
Yeah. So my read on the Wukong, perhaps wanting to have a bit more of that impact in the team fights rather than rolling the early game. I think Killer Queen might be happy feeling he can run the early game, provided Glory doesn't int at level 2. He can out jungle skewed pretty happily. With Jhin, I'm not a huge fan, but as long as someone else is willing to pick up the slack in the damage, Nagia picking up maybe the Jax again could be pretty good. Nautilus locked in, so a lot of kill threat actually available for Eddie and Suhao. Have to see what B wants to respond with as this progresses.
This is the cow angle. It is the cow angle, my boys.
Cow angle?
I mean, the
Donger
Donger
right
would
now.
the Donger would give you at least some damage from the support position as well, and it gives you a lot of lane priority in that bot lane. I mean, Jhin. But then the question I have is, why not just put Ashe? If you're gonna play
Yeah.
Heimerdinger anyways, you're not like
Play the Ashe, play the Caitlyn, or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly,
But
this
anyway.
Caitlyn isn't even that bad. Why are we not just seeing Caitlyn?
I'm not sure. Anyways, we see the Jhin, we see the Heimerdinger. It's just a strong bot lane all around. Now, I like your Jax also because Jax is already pretty good into the 3 champions. We see all 3 pretty auto-take Reliant, and with a lot of mid bans, we might see that mid lane champion pool limited as well. And Glory just gets the assassins basically taken away with Akali, and before that they lived long in the first rotation already. So he's limited on those playmaking champions and might have to go back to something like a Victor or even a Vega. Again, I'm a big Vega fan, and Vega is really good into Xayah, Vi, and Nautilus. It just makes it really hard to engage into. And the Victor now actually being banned from the side of Team Wales, so that's surprising because if I think of Glory, I think of Victor.
Yeah, the option I would be thinking for the angle. Okay, yep. I was going to say Rise would be the angle I expect Wales to be going for, but with that band, Vega,
Syndra or
of course,
Vega?
would be nice, but Syndra, something along those lines. They might just try and lock in a top laner now, pick up that Jax or similar, and give the idea and save that counter pick for Glory once again, or Vega. Or
It's
not.
locked in. Vega is just... He is really strong right now. I mean, he's incredibly strong. And from level 6 onwards, it doesn't really matter what matchup you have. You're really strong in those fights as well, because obviously you have massive burst damage. And together with the Wukong, it's really easy to take out singular targets. Now, the Talia, of course, has a decent amount of range and can just play into the Vega pretty safely. But she doesn't have mobility, which means she's also easy to catch out. And now the Ken would surprise me, because playing Ken into that enemy team comp is pretty miserable. You have Heimerdinger that can easily zone you out. Yeah, I mean, Nara would make much more sense.
Yeah, Nara
sure.
also makes a lot more sense as a blind pick than Kennen, I think, in this current age. Jace rather, would be a nice bit of a damage threat to help round out the composition. Not much in the way of frontline, but the single target burst and potential poke from Wales is insane, but could be an issue if they start to fall behind, not having any real resilience to the engage. So it will be Jace, and a Wales composition that is pretty interesting to look at, I must say, but a lot of zone control.
I mean, they have to use their zone control way. They have to use that Heimerdinger that Vega effectively. But what the Jace also brings you is that you force Secret to take quick decisions, right? Because you want to force them to run into Vega, but if they can delay, if they can look for flanks, if they can play it slowly, then you might actually have a problem. But the thing is, with Jing and with the Jace now, you have a lot of range and poke. So you basically tell Team Secret, well, if we're on an objective, we're gonna poke you out, so you have to basically immediately go in, or you're gonna lose a lot of HP. And if you go in immediately, you can't set up vision, you can't set up control, and you run into our zone control, and we just kill you with the Vega cage with the Heimerdinger. And so there's a lot of urgency on the Team Secret comp to just go in. But again, if the Jace falls behind, if the Vega falls behind, if we see those early mistakes, it can be really hard for Team Wales to get back into the game, because they just get rolled by too many HP on the enemy team comp.
Yeah, once again, I think ease of execution falls into the hands of Team Secret, but we see a lot. I definitely see the angle, and I like a lot of the individual picks. Maybe not the Jhin, but I think all in all, it's rounded out into a decent composition around it. So as we hit the Rift, we will finally see who wins against Team Secret and Team Wales.
Absolutely, we do, and both of these teams, it would be huge. Team Secret could actually get back into that playoff race, maybe take a step towards those top 4 spots, and on the other hand, for the boys of Team Wales, it's about standing in those top 4, making sure you're keeping up with those top teams, making sure that you can be considered one of the contenders. going into the spring split and then obviously summer split, and the world's spots the top 2. I think that should be the end goal for Team Wales as they've been playing. But today they've not really, or they've at least only shown that form in one game, and they have to show it in a third now as well.
Yes, and now we're gonna see there's a bit of pressure bot lane to make sure B could set up those towers for that lane to help get that lane control. But now with everyone going, it gives an option, an angle for Team Secret to maybe try and clear things out. Not even going to attempt it. We have to be a little bit careful for the side of Team Wales. Zuhao could. There is a lot of kill threat, as mentioned, between Eddie and Zuhao. Huge amounts of CC. Not really a good big combat summoner, going for that ghost instead, looking to wait for the late game. But with Skewed starting on that blue buff and clearing down towards the bot side, it's going to be up to Vit and B to play this out very well. They'll get a lot of pressure, but they aren't exactly mobile champions either.
Absolutely not. I think they want to have a bounce on the third wave here at least, to make sure that they're safe. And considering Vice clear it, they might actually be looking for a bounce on the second wave here, but that's not going to be easy because Eddie and Juho, they're going to try their best to stop it from happening. But with the level 2 coming in first, I think it's going to be hard for them to do anything about it. That's the strength of Heimerdinger, especially level 1 with those turrets. Can just force out your enemies. And Vit should be pushing right now. Yep, so they're bouncing second wave. They are aware that jungle's coming down here, and now they should be backing off soon.
They actually get a good chunk onto Zuhan. That should, if nothing else, dissuade a full engage from the side of Team Secret. And they have a good, decent ward in the river, so they might be aware of Skewed. But perhaps
Skewed
not. He's
really
gone over into the river ward, but he's spotted, so Team Wales can play it safe.
Yeah, I mean, Skewed really tried to get creative with this gank pathing. Once he queued over the Drake wall to avoid wards, then he went from behind, basically out of Team Wales' own jungle, to get into that bush, but used Q for it, so he had Q cooldown, needed to wait, and they had that ward in the river, so in the end he got spotted out, didn't have the Q to immediately go, so they're safe on bot lane. They played a bit with a bit of a risk, but in the end it worked out fine for them, and now but all lanes are basically dead even, which should be an advantage for Team Wales, because especially in the mid game, I see the team comp really ramping up 1 to 2 items, especially the 2-item power spike on champions like Nagia, on champions like Glory is insanely strong. And what I kind of want to see is also what Glory goes for, if he actually goes for the tier item build, or if he goes for an immediate instant Rabadons, to make sure that he's as strong as possible on those 2-3 items.
Yeah, I think you can absolutely pick up the tier and then sit on that. Just sit on the extra mana source as you go for the Rabadons. But yeah, we do see a small lead sort of come out for the side of Wales. Mostly Killer Queen getting in a little bit of counter jungling. And of course, alone time for the Vega to just slowly sit up and farm some free AP is going to be just grand for him. So everything coming up, everything going A-okay, and every time this Deadly Flourish lands, Zuhao just eats so much damage with the follow-up grenade that this duo is really nullifying the effectiveness of Zuhao.
Yep, and that's how you play against those hard engage lanes, right? They either have to hard engage before you poke them out, or they're gonna take a lot of punishment. And so far, Vit and B have been really smart and nice about those punishments. And it isn't agency in a traditional sense for B with that Heimerdinger, of course, with like an engaged champion, but it gives him a lot of control in this lane to really just win the lane on his own, make sure that all Vit has to do is hit those Ws, hit those deadly flourishes, and help out the support that way. And otherwise, B is just winning the lane 1v2, which of course is kind of what we're going to see. We want to see B on the map. We want to see B winning lane, because then I think he's really great at just shot calling his team to victory.
Very early dragon start, of course, can be done. They spotted Skewed, and with these Drakes in hand, They feel comfortable doing it. They know Eddie and Zuhao did reset, and a good catch by B. That will send Skewed running, and that should secure the dragon for sure. But can Glory land a good cage? Yes, he can. And the follow-up, not going to happen because Zuhao was there, and that will be first blood to Team Secret. Now, Team Wales on a bit of a scatter. Can they finish it off? Artifact really low, but it's still just the one kill. And it's a health lead, technically, for Wales, but they did lose first blood.
They absolutely didn't. They just overextended. They went too deep. There was no reason after Drake to really look for anything. They could have just gone back to their waves, pushed out those waves, and played it further because they got the early Drake, and they're really just happy doing that. But in the end, they overextend, and it is going to be first blood onto B, who got caught out by the hook around the wall. It was a nice hook from Zhuhao as well, but in the end, just more mistakes from Wales. But they should be able to get back into it. And it's also really sad that Glory didn't really find an ultimate onto anybody because there were so many targets he could have just one-shot with ultimate in the end. Again, here they go to deep. Zhuhao catches out B, and B dies immediately. And it's again Eddie picking up the kills, and now we can see it. If he gets the... Okay, we don't see it further, but if he gets the ulti onto anybody there, I think that person kind of just dies.
Yeah, it's a bit of a not quite willing to pull the trigger from Glory. Wasn't in range to blow up Skewed immediately, of course. And then no one really got low enough until after he joined the fight. So bit rough. Now Killer Queen's going to be looking for something, maybe. Just maybe predicting a gank and wanting to be around for the counter. But all in all, not much time wasted, and the wave will bounce.
Yes, it will, but Vi is still looking. I think she should get level... No, she isn't actually getting level 6 from those Crocs. Still has to do her red buff as well. Now you see Killer Queen into topside, and the bot lane resetting. Vit is cancelling here, so reset actually. He wants to just catch the next wave. He thinks that Eddie and Zhuhao are just going to look to one-shot the next wave. They did that on the last reset, so he's baiting them to one-shot this wave and just takes his wave safely on the turret, and it's just shitting all around. But Eddie and Zhuhao are actually looking for the turret with 4-man hovering towards bot side. Vit is just... He needs to back off, and that means he should have actually taken the reset because he's not able to approach the turret anyways.
Yeah, topside has been open for the side of Nagia, and it means a Rift Herald should be the free for Killer Queen. But with all that pressure down, that's plates traded essentially onto Eddie for this Rift Herald. And it's still, the Feed Desire angle has been going pretty well for them. So as long as they can keep this up, it's going to go all right. As now that B is back, they can fight back, and Team Secret has to split.
Yep, and so far we're just seeing now that gold is being funneled into Nagia, so he can be that poking threat in the mid game. He can move out, and now Skewed is top lane as well. Killer Queen gets him spotted, so that means they know Skewed is here and they could counter gank. But again, Talia with her wall always being able to join first. She has a prior on mid lane, plus that ultimate means that he is much more mobile on the map. Glory, of course, still has that small farm advantage, and of course has a stack, so he's shitting in lane. But for his team, it always means they have to be careful what they do, because Talia could join at any minute. And now it is a pretty slow game, but I think that favors Team Wales, and Hero just used his ultimate and now is getting ganked by 2 people.
Yeah, that he's just trying to clear out the wave, but now just in a rough position, able to hop away a little bit, and decent wallop, but Shot Blast will land, and it's a kill rather to Nagia, and that's really all she wrote. It's a bit of an engage down for Team Secret. B very low, so is Eddie, but Skewed gets to be here first, and with that cease and desist in hand, trapped under tower though, it will be traded back. So 1-for-1 in the gank works out pretty well. They're going to crash a wave and perhaps get a turret. No, here's Artifact. Sorry, B. And okay.
Kipilo comes in.
Teleport coming in. Good knockback though from Artifact. So wave gets collected, but nothing really done by Glory. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was Vit and B not really respecting the cross map. They could have just backed off. They took a fight anyways. It was a really close fight. They nearly killed Eddie, sure, but they shouldn't be posturing here. I mean, they should just back off because they should know that there's a cross map coming for that top play. Eddie flashing in, actually nearly dying, not really being able to hit anything onto BB, sidestepping everything, and then of course the flash is being followed. But, and that's the big but, Skewed actually jumping behind Vit there under the turret, gets stunned, gets killed, and now B gets killed by the fourth man. Artifact coming in. Glory TP gets to catch the wave, but doesn't really get anything else.
Yeah, they will, however, find this dragon. So dragon stacking going well for the side of Team Wales. And if they can pick up these mountain drakes, that will help them out immensely, as they don't have much tankiness innately. So being able to withstand a little bit more of that poke from Artifact and a bit more of the all-ins will be nice for them.
Yeah, especially since Vega specifically is going for that Rod of Ages Rod of Ages item build, obviously, and that means he has a lot of HP, and with a bit more armor and magic resist through that Drake, he can really be tanky as well. So it's really hard for the backline diver to just one-shot him. And then again, Zaya, Eddie, really strong, but he isn't that strong in the dive. He can't really follow up his divers too good if there's space built, if there's a Vega cage down, if there's B turrets slowing him down. So that's something you always have to remember. And now I think they're looking back onto Hero. Hero does have his flash back up, and of course the double jump that comes with Mininar.
But with the Rift Herald, that tower will drop. Skewed is just lurking, and they're going to try and set up a counter gank onto Killer Queen. They're going to immediately blow him up. The tower doesn't even actually fall, and good flash from the gear, but it's not going to amount to too much. Skewed quite low, just going to need the Primordial Burst, but he actually misclicks onto Hero. Hero's going to try and get the Mega Knight. He does. He should fall, but no, everything is just not coming together for Wales. Just, it's tragic. As Skewed and Hero both showing up on I Shouldn't Be Alive. God.
He misclicked.
No. He
missed
misclicked.
Vega already. He missed Vega already.
Just slightly missed on the vision, I assume.
I don't know. We have to see it. I mean, first, good catch here onto Killer Queen, good 4-man collapse, and now we see. I mean, no, there's no reason. No,
okay.
No, okay. He's just bad.
He just panicked. And B missed the rockets as well on Hero.
Oh no.
Just game of inches. Team Wales perhaps getting in their own heads, just making these small errors. And it's just giving Team Secret that little bit of an advantage. That 1,000 gold lead should be essentially balanced by the two dragons, and of course the infinite scaling potential of the Vega, but it's not looking so hot. What?
Okay. Beautiful transition at that point. Great. Honestly, perfect to your talking point. I mean, generally, there isn't really gold lead to talk about 400 gold now between the two teams, and that's a big but, it could be a decently good big gold lead for Team Wales if they had actually executed on the top play correctly, if bot lane hadn't been called out, if that gold advantage, if that kill advantage wouldn't exist. And now on the other side, the Herald is actually being started, and with four people being at that Herald, I don't think Team Wales can contest or wants to contest, and they are going to make me eat my words once again.
Yeah.
And as Killer Queen jumps into the pit, he has ultimate, he can look for a steal, and he can look for a flank.
He has W to just get back out, so this should be a free one for Team Secret, but they might try to make the next fight happen. Vit opens up with the ultimate and just ends up having to cancel immediately, as the turn straight back onto Team Wales is huge. Once again, only Skewed is dying, and Eddie got to wrap around the fight. Vit cannot get involved. B is doing his best to try and kill Artifacts, but what can this Jhin do? Nothing, because he's not a real AD carry, and now B will get run down by Hero eventually. Probably.
Emotes coming out already. B, of course, trying his best to fight out Hero here, but he dies. And I'm hoping we get a replay of that team fight, because what is Team Wales doing? It's like they forgot how to fight altogether in the last 2 games, because what they did in this fight it makes no sense. I mean, they're not respecting Nar whatsoever. Like, they're getting nearly 3-man hit by that Talia. They're not respecting Talia at all. Now they're splitting up, and it's just the freest Nar game of his life. I mean, huh? I really don't get it.
I don't understand.
I mean, both team comps like rely very heavily on being first on objective, just having the setup, having the vision to not be flanked, and just to be able to play with their zone control. Both teams have great zone control, and Team Wales just doesn't respect it at all. They're not cross-mapping. They're not, for example, just walking onto mid turret, basically telling Team Secret that yes, you can have Herald, but we just walk at your mid turret, and if you want to come to us, then you lose the fight in mid lane because suddenly you have to run into us. No, they're running into Team Secret. They're getting punished, and now suddenly you have a 3k gold advantage, and it's really easy for one of these teams to start snowballing and the other team not really having the damage to kill anybody. And I think we might already come to that point where it's going to be really hard to force any kills, because Nar is much tankier than he should be in the game state. The Vi is much tankier than she should be in the game state, and it's all because of that gold advantage.
Another attempt onto B, but now maybe the turn back is enough. No, everyone can just stand in front of the bullets from Vit. Skewed will go down, but it is both junglers traded. Zuhao is low, so health advantage currently for the side of Team Wales, and they can set up their zone control right now. B is looking to back right now, but okay, it's just going to be the 1-for-1. No one's going to really get a chance at the dragon just yet. Though, actually, Team Secret, I like this call. As Wales vacate the area completely, it doesn't matter if you don't have your jungler, you can just take the dragon.
Yeah, and it's also because
Wales.
important ultis for Team Secret are just still up. Wales has used basically every important ultimate they have. I mean, they have used every ultimate they have. They only have Jace left. And on the other hand, you had Meganar with the ultimate up. You still have Eddie with ultimate. So it was really hard for Wales to force another fight, to win another fight. And especially within that fight again, he didn't really land any shots on important targets again, even though it should have been a shooting gallery. It should have been a good angle for him to just chunk out people with his ultimate, but wasn't really able to do. And I'm not sure how they're gonna able to build those team fights, because right now Killer Queen is just going in and dying all the time.
I think really this fundamentally comes up to my biggest problem with Jhin, as hold on, Hero might be in trouble right now. The attacks do come through. Glory doesn't actually get to participate, so just a solo kill for Nagia. Yeah, my problem with Jhin is his ultimate doesn't actually do a lot of damage, because a lot of it is execute based.
I mean, yes.
So whenever Jhin opens up in an ultimate to start a fight, it ends up sort of looking like he does no damage and then can't participate actually, and the fight's over before he can walk in with auto attacks.
But like the item build he's building should change that. I mean, he's building full lethality, so the ulti actually has okay base damage, but usually you don't really see it because you don't have armor pen, right? And it gets really easily reduced by armor. But on squishy targets with this item, but he should actually be doing a decent amount of damage, even with his ulti shots. But I think he missed like 2 or even 3 out of his 4 ulti shots, because he tried to shoot on random targets, and that's just not great.
Yeah. So once again, we're just seeing the 80 carry sort of getting out of hand for Team Wales. Eddie right now 3 kills up, has 50 CS over his opponent, and it's about 3,000 gold lead. You could probably say most of that is on the 80 carry, but yeah, every lane is except top perhaps just sort of struggling with all the side of Team Wales right now, or top jungle.
Yeah, I think, I mean, all around, I think Vega can also do still a lot, but now he's getting actually engaged on.
Yeah, and not much you can do there from as Glory, just sort of put into the bounce house and knocked down. And with Baron spawning, that is pretty unfortunate timing, because now Team Secret are just going to turn straight onto it. And you can't really approach as Team Wales, as we've already sort of established. You can't, neither team can really approach. Zuhao will scuff up his hook, and that will take a lot of punishment for that, but they're doing their job and keeping Wales out of the pit. Zuhao, Killer Queen just gets killed by Hero, who almost kills me. Wait, he stole that.
Wait, he has an Ashe. Oh no.
How the hell did Vit steal that?
With this third shot. His third one. I didn't even really realize. Oh my god.
Yeah, I just saw Team Wales walking away with the buff, and it was like, wait, hang on, huh?
Oh no, Skewed is
Okay.
getting outsmited by Jin third shot, not even fourth shot, because that's one he used to actually kill the Gnar, and we can look back on it. Yeah, I mean, Juhao is a bit too deep, gets punished for it, then Hero tries to play the zoning Gnar, tries to just take out Killer Queen, which he does effectively, and now look at, oh my god, he smited on 88 HP.
Just a miracle steal from the side of Vit there. Picks up a Baron, and it's not going to do a lot. Currently, it's not that much, but it's just going to be as what Team Wales can do with it to try and turn it back around. Killer Queen going to kill Skewed, going to try and catch onto Artifact as well. Flash forced. Still a minute till Dragon, so not going to find anything there. Nagia jumping straight onto Eddie. Can they continue? Shock Blast just narrowly missing. But that's going to open up a mid lane tower. And if they can continue this push, maybe get the second tower, and then have full control over the dragon. This could be the big comeback.
Remember. Yeah, and something to remember is that the gold lead now is basically non-existent. It's very much no big gold lead here anymore for this Team Secret side. They should have taken that little bit of a gold lead and snowballed it into a win, but in the end, the Nash gets stolen, and that means they're now dead even. Drake is going to be spawning in 20 seconds, which means they're going to be really late. So they might just give up the Drake anyways, take the two mid lane turrets, take the gold that comes with that. And yes, you're giving up a second Drake, but it's only the second Drake. And it gives you more armor and magic resist, but it's fine because, again, I don't want them to see... I don't want them to walk in here. I think walking in is just really hard for them to do. And I think it's better to just accept that you're losing it and try to get something on top lane. But the wave is not in position, and seems they're still playing for it.
Yeah, as long as someone doesn't get caught out, it's still okay. They're just going to try and force the issue mid. Maybe try and make Team Secret overstep, or at least force them to vacate the river. Hero has a very good, healthy Gnar though, so they want to try and make him pop that prematurely. They succeed in doing so. But can they actually get control over this dragon as I get a bit of a freeze? Okay, I can see again. Hero caught out though, and that's going to be one removed. Team Secret are going to just try and start up the dragon in response, but now Vit opens up that curtain call, and now Team Secret have to run. Fourth shot does connect onto Skewed, and with that, he is just out of this. Glory could find a good cage. Good Shock Blast onto Eddie, and that should be a convert from Killer Queen to get trapped in the baby cage. Zuhao will fall shortly, and Nagira is going to try and kill Artifact on the end. Vit snipes him down, and it's a clean ace, and Team Wales are back in it. Going to be able to pick up their soul point as well.
And I think we saw what Team Wales Team Comp actually want to do. That's how they want to play. They want to play it slow. And it is actually B who smurfs this team fight because he realizes that he can actually mark Hero in the team fight. So Hero wants to go for a flank, but what B does is just he puts himself between his team and Hero and tells Hero, you have to walk through me. While Hero is trying that, he gets stunned. He gets then hit by the Deadly Flourish as well, and then collapsed on and killed. And that's just really well played from the support. And it's one of the things that Heimerdinger can actually do as a support is mark those flanks and make sure that they're not getting by him. And we can see the turrets and B just zoning him out. And Deadly Flourish hits, and then you can commit on him with a good flash from Glory as well to make sure that this Gnar really dies.
Yeah, and the secondary engage, these slows doing a lot of work, a lot of damage. That fourth shot connecting, I think, was the signal for Team Wales to full commit because of how low everybody got, and just Eddie getting chunked out. Even though he ults to avoid the initial blast of the Cyclone, he still has to come back down. So very nice team fight this time around from Team Wales. Sticking as a unit, playing to their win conditions, and very much rewarded. Now they have the gold lead. They have the dragon control. And now they just need to sit and make sure that they own this Baron pit. Because that's going to be the next objective. And we've already seen that if whoever's there first tends to have the better advantage in the fight.
Absolutely. And one thing that we have to say is Eddie, yes, he's very, very strong in desire, but we saw in the last team fight, he doesn't get to auto deck. He took 2 shock blasts and a Jin ultimate, and he's dead. And that's going to be
straight in onto B. A lot committed. The hook does land onto Killer Queen's clone, so skewed. Oh, the wraparound from Vit, and now Killer Queen can go for this follow-up. Hero will fall down. Killer Queen's going to try and pick up Zuhao as well, but can't quite make it in. Baron a little bit away, so Killer Queen has time to go and heal if he needs to, but Jungler dead. Baron should be Team Wales.
And there we can see what Team Wales Team Com does when you try to engage it. It's so easy for them to just get out, and B really isn't the target you want to go on as well. And Skewed instant has to flash out because of the baby cage, and in the end, it's really easy for Team Wales to just turn it, because if you don't close to this team comp, they just arrange you, they just run you down, and yeah, that's the strength of being first. And we will see that throughout the game. Whoever is first on the objective just will have the advantage.
Oh, that was
ultimate from Heimedding as well.
Those grenades, yeah.
And there we see what happens when we land the Jin ultimates as well. They actually deal damage with this lethality item build. He's really just an ult and W bot in this game, and I like it because, well, it might not be the best champion, but it's definitely something that even Vit can do, and so far it's been working.
Yeah, we see the roller coaster of the gold come on through. Baron in the hands of Team Wales. They still have plenty of options in terms of gold to take down. But of course, Team Secret can just sort of try and set up their own traps and make Team Wales have to push into them, which is a bit difficult. So Team Wales not going to try and play 4-1 or anything, just trying to stick as a group, knock down towers, try and get as much control on the bottom side of the map as they can so they can rotate into that dragon objective when it comes up.
Absolutely, they can now flank TP from Heroes coming in. He is nearly Mega Nar, but we can already see the shot blast already landing.
Yeah,
the flank just doesn't come through. He's too deep, and his team dies before he even arrives, and that's the range advantage that you have. Any CC landing means somebody dies, even the Nautilus. And now in the base, it should probably be the game. They have to find some engage with Hero. The Hero ultimate from this Nar might turn it, but it's not going to be easy.
And once again, B's whole job is to make sure that Narbar cannot transform. You see them doing his best to harass Hero and force that out early. Now, Killer Queen could be in a bad angle. There is a flash on Hero, but still just trying to keep the pressure on. 50 seconds. Oh, will find an ultimate onto Glory, but in the end may have gone a bit too far, but actually the drag back of Killer Queen and Glory under the tower means they get to stay okay. This makes taking the dragon a little bit of an improbability, as the wall will cut off Team Wales' angle. And this should be a good mid push for the side of Team Secret, but this response from Wales is even better.
I mean, they just walk into enemy base. They have the Baron, they have a super minion, and that means they can just walk it in. They have the Heimerdinger as well with the turrets. They have a lot of damage to those turrets, and they're just ending the game. This is over.
They just let them win. They forgot their base was open, and now Team Wales is just gonna hit the Nexus. 50 gold to Vit and a 2-1 win for Team Wales, giving them third place at the end. Whew.
I mean, it is definitely a TSM classic, Drake for base, and in the end, they executed perfectly. Team Secret looking maybe to the wrong region for inspiration, and in the end, just get a rollover. And it's Team Wales who win the series, but I think it definitely wasn't the win they wanted. Neither in Game 2 nor in Game 3 was it really the performance that they need to show if they want to get to those top spots. And talking about top spots, later today, of course, we can see Cerberus playing the current second place.
Yes, Cerberus second place, going up against SBTC Esports. That will be coming up shortly, but just to sort of wrap this up, Team Wales, continually inconsistent, but does at least show that as long as it doesn't get too out of hand, they do have the potential to rally and make a comeback, which is good to see. It means that up against some of the teams like Cerberus and Cerberus, Saigon, and GARM in the future, perhaps that they don't have to straight up win the game and get that snowball going. So we see a lot of roller coaster and huge amounts of damage coming out of B actually. Superstar MVP support for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it felt more like B was the carry and Vit was the support on the Jhin. And I mean, I said it in the game. It's definitely not the meta pick. It's definitely the lethality. Jhin isn't the like be all end all of carry champions. But considering how this game went, I feel like it was a good angle into that Xayah because it can't be really touched in lane together with a Heimerdinger, and then later on you just are that range spot together with Nagia on the Jace, just dominating on that range and not really letting Eddie carry the team fights or carry the game. And it's not really something that needs a lot of mechanical prowess or decision-making prowess from Vit. So I think it was perfect for the game situation, the draft situation they were in.
And so with that, we will say goodnight to Team Wales and Team Secret, who, for Team Secret, it's rough. They probably didn't get to play with their preferred jungler, of course, with Sorn being out hurt. But all in all, that's it for that series. And we will be back after a break now with Cerberus versus SBTC Esports.